6 years ago, we bought this land that we're standing on. And now 6 years later, we have officially closed on our new additional off-grid land in another state. Since we paid with cash, we fully own the land and we have the deed in hand. In this episode, we're going to reveal to you what state we bought the land in and why we picked it. But first, we have to go over some behind-the-scenes issues that we had with the real estate agent. When we first started this process, we saw a couple of properties online and we were trying to decide which one we wanted. And we always kind of make a list and then kind of narrow it down from there. So once we found probably 3 to 5 of the properties, we contacted the listing real estate agent who happened to be the agent for all of these properties. We're buying land in another state, so we've never seen the agent, we've never met the agent. All of this is strictly via phone. I called the agent up and I could immediately tell that they were very nonchalant about, I don't know, in a nutshell, being a real estate agent. It didn't sound like that it was their priority. And we have the money, we have the cash, we're ready to rock and roll. So we really had kind of like an eagerness. Once we figure out which property that we want, we're ready to rock and roll. So the agent said, okay, no problem at all. I'll send you listings. Time went by and we didn't hear from the agent. While we're waiting for the agent to respond, we're still looking at the 3 to 5 properties and we're narrowing down. So we've gone from 5 down to 2. And so we've kind of done the work a little bit for the agent because now they don't have to find out all about these properties. We're just down to 2 properties that we're really interested in. So I contacted them again and they're like, all right, I'll get with you. And they never did. Where the properties are, they're near mountains. And one of the 2 is like kind of right near, not at the base of the mountain, but it was near the base of the mountain, pretty much say. I can't really say how far. So finally got in touch with the agent. We're talking about the differences in the 2 property. And they were saying in the wintertime, one of those may be a little bit harder to get to, but you could use a snowmobile. So we started asking about the other property and we were like, okay, between the 2, which of the 2 is easier to get to? If it snows a lot, you're probably still going to need a snowmobile, which we are totally fine with that. That's why we are wanting, the property. We wanted a new experience than what we can get here in Florida. So we picked the easier of the 2 of the property. So we're like, all right, this is the one that we're locked in on. This is the property that we want.
I think there was one point when we were speaking with the agent that he did help us with deciding between the 2 properties because he was telling us about different slopes and rises. And there were moments that he was helpful in helping us to decide between the 2 properties. Yeah. So that, that was a good, at least something positive in that transaction. So yeah, he was helpful with that. Yeah. So yeah.
During this waiting time, we've locked in on the property that we want to buy. We've made our decision. They're both very remote. They're very much way out there, but we're okay with that because that's what we wanted. That's why we want it, with other reasons that we'll go over later. So I texted. It's very hard to get in touch with this real estate agent. And what we initially thought, and I think we kind of said this in the second video of this How to Buy Land series, is very remote. So we were thinking, oh, they don't have much cell phone coverage. He just wasn't answering, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. We're figuring out the property, we got it locked down. So we're asking the agent, hey, please send us the paperwork, the documentation, so we can start this process. And so we can, start signing the papers because we want to get this locked down. We want to buy it. And days went by. And I already knew from the first conversation or 2 that they were just very lackadaisical in this process. So after some days went by, I contacted the broker, the actual owner of the company, and I kind of stated in a text, because I sent a text, I think I called, she didn't pick up, so I sent a text and I told her what the issue was. And I really kind of just stated that from the very beginning, we're kind of having issues. This is taking a while. The real estate agent is not getting in touch with us, and we're ready to rock and roll. That's what you're in the business of selling, buying and selling property. We're ready to buy.
A side note, all of these agents from this real estate company, they're all family. So that makes things a little sticky, a little more complicated. When you've got grandmas and mom and dad and kids, grandkids, it can get a little more complicated.
We found out later that the owner is the grandmom of the real estate agent.
Yeah.
So no matter what we were telling her,
that was her grandson.
That was her grandson.
Yeah. So there's that.
These are the things, especially, and this is why we wanted to kind of give you a real time as we're going through this process, because it's not when we bought this land that we're on, it was a very smooth process, but not all buying land processes are smooth. There can be some issues that arise. And so we wanted to make sure that we took you along for that ride and to relay what was going on. And we really tried to be patient in this process. I think in video 2, one of our keynotes was be patient, but be proactive. And we said that because that's what we were going through at the time. So I contacted the owner of the company, AKA the grandmom, and she just wasn't getting it. I do think that she got it, because this isn't probably Hello.
Hey, come here.
Are you coming over with pickles?
Sparrow and Pickles, come here.
Hello. You want to sit up here?
Doing? Hi, Pickles. You want to sit up here with us?
Yeah, come up here. Come on up.
We're talking about the land.
We're talking about the land.
Oh, Pickles wants to see you.
So we got in contact with the grandma, and so she said she would talk to him. And whenever we would talk with the I keep calling her grandma, but with the broker, the owner of the company, then he would get to it. He would call us back, he would text. Finally, he emailed us the buying documents. So as we showed you in the first episode, we showed you the portion of the contract where we signed, and basically we were locked in to the contract. The seller also had to sign. So we showed you in episode 2. Episode 1 was the contract. Episode 2 was so we showed you in episode 2 the counteroffer. This counteroffer played a big part in this sale, but it became a bigger situation, but it actually helped the situation that we didn't realize at that time.
So it was over a minimal amount money-wise, but the situation itself felt larger than the little minimal.
So the minimal part was what we showed you was there was a broker fee. And I think the seller was going to initially pay the broker fee in full. Well, the seller counteroffered and asked that we split that. It was a very minimal fee. We were like, cool. And we expressed that to all of you in episode 2. There was another part that somehow we saw, but I don't know if we totally missed and was right with it, but it wasn't very. So the seller, because they have sold enough property over time, and we'll get to that later, they wanted to self-close. And we agreed to that, where we would close with the seller. We're the buyer, the seller. The seller wanted to self-close. And we agreed to that. And this was over talks initially with the agent, because the agent said that they knew them and that they had sold properties before. And we felt pretty confident, and it actually helped us in the end. We signed the counteroffer, and we're kind of waiting, and we're getting close to the middle of the contract. All of a sudden, I could not get a hold of the real estate agent.
The grandson.
When I finally got in touch with the agent, he literally picked up the phone, and when I called him, he said, "What's up?" And I'm like, what? So we talked, and the agent literally was like, I'm done. I'm done with this contract. I'm done. I'm done with this process. He's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And in this moment, I was just like, I'm really trying to talk to him patiently and calm and cool.
He kept saying he was done because he kind of went back on what he initially said, that he was okay with the process we were going about, that he had done that many times. Then he kind of went back and said, I don't like this process. So he kind of gave us one impression initially, and then after, we're on contract and waiting to close, he kind of changed his tune a little bit.
Everything that this agent initially said, he just totally changed everything. All the confidence in this real estate agent, he just, I don't know if give up was the word, but it just didn't seem like he wanted to be a real estate agent. And this is over the course of maybe a week or two, probably 2 weeks. In this conversation where he's AKA giving up, I'm telling him, I'm like, you're a representation of this company and you just don't sound like you want to be a real estate agent. But I'm telling him this really calm and cool because just trying to pep him up a little bit. And so I said, you're a representation of this company and I don't think the owner, would appreciate how you're handling the situation. So we got off the phone, and as soon as I got off the phone with the agent, I called the owner of the company, AKA Grandma, and relayed the message of the issues that we were having in this buying property, in the buying of this property. And again, this is her grandson, and what I did feel like was that if we were feeling this way, what were the sellers thinking during this time? If we were thinking this and feeling this way, I was like, I know we're not the only one. There's two ends of this process. I know we're not the only one feeling this way. I just have a gut feeling about this. The agent just basically was like, in a nutshell, in so many words, was like, I'm done. The cool part about it and the crazy part about it is, in this process of the agent saying that he's done, he texts me the seller's phone number. And we're kind of actually, let me back up too. While we're going through this process, I am thinking that maybe this land buying process with this agent isn't going to go well. We're buying land with cash. There's other land out there where we want to buy. So I was about to begin the process of looking for other lands in the same place. There's a lot of land out there. While I'm thinking about this, I was like, you know what? I've never seen a situation like this. We've bought 2 houses. We've bought land. We've built a house on land, and we're in the process of buying land during this time. I've never seen a situation like this where the agent gives the phone number of the seller. It may has happened. It may happen. I don't know. But he did. So I was like, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. I don't know how the seller is going to be. I don't know how they're going to react. I don't know if they're even going to pick up. So I called the seller. They didn't pick up. So I texted the seller and just kind of relayed what I was feeling during this process, and just kind of expressed that we're ready to rock and roll with this, but we're just having a hard time with the real estate agent. The seller called us back. And when the seller called us back, it was like this aha moment. It was like the meeting of the minds. They were feeling the same way, how the agent was talking to them. Matter of fact, this seller had a couple of properties listed, because again, it wasn't just our property that we're buying. there were other properties, and they had other property. They had one that they had sold previously, and in that time, they ran across a lot of issues with the agent. They have another property on there that they're probably going to pull away from the agent. They don't even want to go through the process with them. So I'm on the phone with the seller, but again, we don't know the seller. The seller doesn't know us. Because in our contract, it says buyer and seller will self-close. We actually have the right to self-close in this deal. It's basically like a buying process as if there was never an agent and we're just buying straight with the seller. Actually, we talked with both of the owners. We talked with the husband and the wife, and the husband, he was on it. He told us everything, all of the issues that he was having with the agent. He even said that he tried to talk patiently with the agent. He really tried to work with him, and it was just a chaotic process. So we were trying to figure out how the deed process, the money exchange process, and I think 99.99999999999 we would have never went about it the way that we did. But because of having several conversations with the seller, building a rapport with them, and really we just felt right about it. Like we were like, you know what, we're going to roll the dice. So we did a buyer-seller transaction where we were now the real estate agent. And so we had to go through the whole process of the deed, the transaction of the funds, all of that. Everything that you have to do, we had to do that. And it worked out perfect. It's just one of those situations that you have to keep a good mind frame and a mind state. And we're just very thankful that the sellers were who they are. And, you know, again, it's something that we rolled the dice with. But even to this day, we're still talking with the sellers. I could probably text them right now. And they've sent us documents about the land. They've got pictures. You know, they have all kind of files with the land. And so they're just very good people, and we're very thankful for them and for how this buying process worked out. So we got the deed and we got the declaration of value. So when we first began this off-grid land process, which again, this was over a year of us planning, thinking, searching, looking, all that. The states that we were looking at was, number one, we really wanted to buy land in Alaska. Majority of the shows that we watch, they're in Alaska, they're in Siberia, they're in like -70 temperature.
Not that we want to live in -70. It's just very fun to watch. That's a bit extreme.
But we watch a lot of overseas shows. Canada.
Yes.
We love hiking, we love camping, we love traveling. There's just something about those temperatures and living conditions. We watch the people like in Siberia, they're nomads and they live in tents, and every few days they bring the tent down and go somewhere else. They got all these, reindeer.
Reindeer, yeah.
So Alaska was number one. The other states that we were looking at was Tennessee, Arkansas, West Virginia, Virginia. We even looked at Michigan because we wanted a place very rural, very off-grid, and we just couldn't find what we were looking for. A lot of those, they wanted you to build a house. We're not doing that ever again. And if we do, it'll be something that we build, like a cabin or something like that. A lot of them, if you go online and you click on it, they were auctions. So they'll list the price and they're like, disregard the price. This is going online for auction. I ain't got time for all that.
I didn't even know that.
I ain't got time for all that. So, and then some, they were like on a street curb, or there was a street. We don't want anything street.
No.
At the time, I know that I had looked, I almost said it.
Well, you could cut that out.
So at the time, this one state I had looked at, but I don't think I look. And then one day I like looked on there and I was like, oh my gosh, they got like a lot of land out here, and it's exactly what we want and where we want it. It's exactly what we want to do with it. Like, it is perfect. And I know I looked, but I didn't like really like spend a lot of time on it. And it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect.
And I think we had mentioned in video 2, maybe 1, that the place that we did get land, we actually have friends that live there. And it never really dawned on us to actually purchase land there. We thought, wow, good for them. And we've been following them and watching them as they're, doing similar kind of things that we've done here. And it just never clicked until we started looking and we thought, oh, okay, this might work out here. So
those were the states that we were initially looking at. Alaska, Tennessee, Michigan, West Virginia. Oh, we were looking at Kentucky as well.
Yes.
And that actually was kind of at the top.
Yeah. Because we've said before, we're not big on, we don't need to be near big cities. We actually want to be far away from that. And the more far and rural you are, the more affordable the land is. So that was a very affordable, not too far, but far enough that it felt like it was different than Florida. So yeah, we have been really looking at those areas thinking, oh, okay, it's not too expensive. But it was still similar to this. It was almost a little too similar.
Ish.
Yeah, there were. So we thought let's go even more extreme.
Yeah. And another issue was if we saw a property, the pickings were very slim, especially in our price range. And again, we wanted to pay cash. We did pay cash. The pickings were very slim, and so it was like you would get, I don't know, 1 to 2 to 3. But then they all had restrictions or they didn't have the right zoning that we wanted.
Right.
So those were the states that we were initially looking at. Why we picked the state that we did. 1, mountains. Again, we love hiking, we love exploring, we love traveling, we love camping.
And we've fallen in love with the scenery. That we've watched a lot of YouTubers in Alaska and the mountain ranges, and having that in the background just adds such a beauty that we were intrigued by and love.
This state has the most mountain ranges with over 300 in the entire state. It has the most mountain ranges out of all the states. So we definitely wanted mountains. The state has snow. And especially where we bought the land out, what area of the state that we bought, it's top 3 in the most snow in the state. One of the main reasons why we bought land in this state is that it gets us closer to other states that we wanted to travel to. It gets us closer to Idaho. It gets us closer to Oregon. It gets us closer to Montana. It gets us closer to Washington. It gets us closer to Canada. And ultimately, we want to go to Alaska. So this state that we bought it in is basically like a hub, an airport per se for us, a base that we can get to. And then once we're there, we can come and go as we please to these other states and to these other places that we want to get to. We live in Florida. Florida has no state income tax. The state that we just bought has no income tax. The land that we bought, it has no restrictions. The zoning is agriculture, and that's what we want. That's what we always want, that we can do what we want. We don't have to do anything. And yeah, there's no zoning restrictions on this land. Another reason why we bought land in this state is the unknown adventure and the unknown experience. There's like literally never a dull moment here. We have a large family, and we can't even, I think, like, let's say like a goat, you really have to stay on top of goats. You have, if you want to get milk from them, or if you're trying to get milk from them, you really have to stay on top of that. We literally are on the go, and we don't want to put an animal on our land that we really can't take care of or get the best use out of it. And we wouldn't want to do that to an animal. So we just don't bring in things to our land that we know that we really can't take care of, because we're spontaneous. We want to go. We want to see. We're over there. So yes, we wanted the unknown adventure, the unknown experience, and the unknown challenge of living where we bought the land.
I like that unknown challenge one.
Yeah.
Excited about that one.
It's extremely remote and secluded. There is hardly anyone out where we bought. I think there is someone out there, but it's wide open. This land is literally wide open. It's in between mountains. Even to get there, we're probably, depending on the type of season, we're probably going to need a snowmobile, something that we've never ridden on. Out here is four-wheelers and
dirt bikes.
Oh yeah, out here is four-wheelers and dirt bikes. So there we would have to, get a snowmobile or two. There's a lot of BLM land out where we are at. That's the Bureau of Land Management land. A lot of shows that we watch, they're hiking in BLM land, they're driving through BLM land, they're camping out in BLM land. And that is something that we really, really wanted to experience and get to. Will we keep this land? Again, this land we bought raw, undeveloped. We built it up. For now, we'll say yes. I think, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely I think we've worked hard to feel established here, and we definitely feel established. And, taking all the kids into consideration, they're all in different seasons of life. And we definitely feel very grounded here for the next, I feel like several years. And maybe within the next 4 to 5, things could change. But as we are still graduating kids, and I feel like every couple of years we have another kid graduating, possibly when we get down to our last youngest 2, that they're still, homeschooled or doing school, however, we might, I don't know. We'll kind of have to play it by ear, but we do take our kids into consideration where they're at, and they have friends and they're established here. And we might just keep it as an adventure spot for these first several years, and then go from there. We'll see what happens, but we're definitely very established here right now. And I think it's good to have a home base. And like we said earlier, we're not trying to reestablish a new home base. We worked very hard to do that here. And maybe down the road, as we're empty nesters, a lot of things can change. But for right now, yes, we do still feel very established here. And we like the idea of it being a base to explore on that end of the U.S.
We didn't know when we bought this land what we were going to do with it. The initial purpose of that is not how it turned out. And you can look back on other videos and that will tell the story of this land here. So whatever we say today may or may not change. It could change, because when we first got this land, I don't know if we foresaw any of this at that time, because it was meant for a different purpose. And so the same thing with this new land. When we bought this land, there was something inside that told us at that time, you need to go buy this land. You need to get land. And I really don't want to get into all of that, but you need to buy this land. And so we did. And looking back, it was one of the best decisions that we ever did. Not to get too deep, but just when you look at the state of the world and all the yada, 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 yada. So when we were looking for new land, I had that same feeling. I had that same exact feeling of, I don't know why I'm being told that we need to get this land, but you need to lock it down. What happens after that, do not know, but you need to lock down some additional land. And so I do know, and I do feel that ultimately we'll look down the road and be like, that's why, that is why. And so when you go, sometimes you got to go with your gut. And later on down the road, you're going to realize why. You might not know in that moment of why you were told to do that from within. But if you go with your gut and you do it later on down the road, you're going to see why. And so we were led to do that, and we did it.
Yes.
What are we going to do with that land? Again, that may change. We're not going to put a house on there. It'll probably be an off-grid cabin. It'll be our thought process right now today is we're going to put an RV on it, or we are going to live out a van and we travel in that van.
Or both.
Or both.
Or all three. Maybe an off-grid. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of possibilities.
Yeah. We were talking
But,
with somebody yesterday who lives near there, a state away, and he was like, "Yeah, you say that today that you don't know, and next thing you know."
Once we get out there and feel it and experience it, I think that we'll get more clarity as far as, initially what we want to do. And then as time goes by, it might develop into more.
When are we going out there? That is another. Today.
What's your weekend looking like, honey?
So that's during this behind the scenes. That is this isn't a land that we just bought that's right over there. Kind of like how we did here.
Yeah.
This land is way over there.
Way over there.
So we've had to look at ticket prices. We've looked at traveling, and those kind of play a part in where we're going to live long term. What is going to happen, those things that we do not know. But we're loving that challenge. Mm-hmm. We're loving the adventure of it and the unknown of it. So thank you for being patient during this how to buy land process as we're buying off-grid land in another state. This one was not, it went perfect, but it definitely didn't go how we initially thought, but it definitely went perfect, and we're very thankful. So we just want to say thank you all for being patient. We wanted to walk with you as we went through this process so we could just show you what can really happen when you're buying land. It's not a cookie cutter process. It can be, but there's a lot of times where it's not. So,
Without further ado,
where we bought the new additional off-grid land in another state. 1, 2, 3, Nevada! Yes, let's go. We have bought land in northern Nevada.
Yes.
And so.
Which I'm curious, did anyone guess Nevada? Did we get any guesses for Nevada?
There was, y'all were extremely, for those of you who commented and guess, and thank you for that, because you made this process really fun. You didn't know what we were really going through behind the scenes, so you made it extremely fun, and just wanted you to feel a part of the process, and so we thank you for that.
Yes.
So, but yes, I think one or two had said Arizona,
which is very close.
And I think because some of you, kind of know us so well, from seeing our camping videos and traveling. So I'm kind of I'm excited. From that.
Are you excited to go out there and check it out? Mm-hmm. What are you excited to see in Nevada?
Probably in winter time we could see snow.
Okay.
And a lot of other stuff who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? That's a good point.
What's up.
What do you think, Sparrow? What do you think we're going to see in Nevada when we go visit?
If it's not even cold, we can swim and every stuff we can't know.
Yeah, we could swim in the springs. There's springs there. Yeah. Do you think there's wild animals out there?
No.
You don't think there's any wild animals? What are some other predators?
The picture I showed you.
Oh. Snails? Okay.
The bighorn sheep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And coyote. Yeah.
The mountain lions.
Mountain lions. What are you looking forward to, Sean?
Oh.
What do you think about when you think of Nevada? What do you think would be cool?
Whenever I think of Nevada, I think of the mountains. I'm really excited to see the snow on top of the mountains because you always see that in movies and stuff.
But to see it in real life.
Yeah, to see it in real life would be
what?
insane.
Even just the fact that the weather's different.
Yes.
It's drier there. We're used to a lot of humidity here. And out west, they don't get the same humidity. Now, there's pros and cons to that. But it'll be fun to experience. It'll be different.
Very fun,
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
How about you, Sparrow? What are you looking forward to?
Probably nature.
Nature. That's right.
That's a
We
good one.
love nature.
It's going to be fun.
What about lights?
Right? We got to figure that out.
Oh, yes.
Electricity.
We got to figure out.
We do. We got to figure that out.
Got to
What
find some
about
candles.
camping?
Solar.
We got to find some candles and a stove.
You're gonna have to need a cart to go there too.
Yeah, we have to figure out how to get there. You're right.
Yeah, we got a lot. There's a lot,
to figure out.
lot of stuff to figure out. But
And matter of fact, a map.
we need a map.
We need a map.
You talking like old school map where you
Yes.
drive
Hey, you know
and you had the
what?
thing in the window shield.
At least you don't need like internet service for that, right?
So, got a lot of stuff to figure out, but that is the joy, that is the fun, that is the adventure, the unknown, the experience, and that's what we love, is the experience of life.
Thank you for watching Laniel Haven Live.
You looking forward to going to Nevada? You got a nice coat for it. We got to get one like this.
For real. Maybe that's